Hello, everybody. This is an update. It's really more of a PSA, maybe a news bulletin, so to speak. And I'm going to try to keep it short. I'm making this one audio only so that I can get it out quickly. So for the most part, we are moving forward with the world, right? We are getting back to a lot of normal things. There are a lot of restrictions being lifted. A lot of the doctors that I listen to on the medical industry podcasts that I frequent in my podcast feed to keep me informed are saying that we are nearing the end. And there are a lot of people out there trying to still push the fear of the variants and all of that. But the reality is that these vaccines are a miracle. They are a medical achievement, probably the greatest of human history, if you want my honest opinion. And so I'm optimistic. I'm excited about the future, but there are still some little bits of COVID misinformation going on out there. And one of them is about the resonance singer's mask that I plug here on the show. And so I would just at least like the opportunity to correct the record. There is a lot of misconception going on, and actually just a misunderstanding of how these resonance singers' masks performed in the Colorado study. And so I want to clarify that. But before I do, I also want to give you a little bit of background. For those of you who are regular listeners to the show, you're going to probably already know this. But one of the things that I've been doing since March of last year, in order to be more informed on this, and partly because I put in this extra work to understand COVID to the best of my ability, and because I know I'm not an expert, but there are steps that people can go through to become more informed on this. And I'm lucky because I have this platform, and I had built it prior to the pandemic, which meant that I was in a good position to inform my colleagues and to help by putting out these conversations and giving myself access to these experts so that I could understand and then pass along information to you. So for my understanding of COVID related issues, here's what I've done so far. This has been my process, and I don't mean to hold this up as if this is why I'm right and you're wrong. That's not the point. I just want everyone to understand where I'm coming from. So what I've done so far is I've avoided short form info on COVID. So any of those short form, and I mean like the 5-minute read articles and the 5-minute cable news segments, I've avoided those completely because our first impressions on things are often very formative, and they're hard to shake once we've made up our mind about something from that simple bit of information. And so I've just avoided that completely. So instead, I start with medical industry podcasts and or publicly available lectures or discussions from academics in long form, in order to gain context and to decide which aspects of the issue warrant a closer look. This takes a lot of time, but it is not skippable. If you want to understand, you have to start there. And then from those conversations, step 3, from those conversations, I learn about which studies to read that are relevant, and then I read them, which also takes quite a bit of time. So I read the studies, but then I also recognize that I am not an expert, and there's going to be some jargon in there that I might not understand, and or I won't have the context necessarily to really wrap my mind around what that study means. So when I have questions, step 4, I reach out to experts and I ask questions. In several cases, I have asked them to come on the show where I can learn via conversation. And I have collected those conversations at coralosophy.com/COVID-conversations. In most cases, I'm just bold in doctors' DMs on Twitter. So the reality is, I've posted several episodes on the show with conversations with experts, but that represents a drop in the bucket of the conversations that I've actually had at this point with doctors, many of whom who can't come on my show, aren't able to, but are still willing to answer questions, because my little fifth bullet here is that if I ask informed questions, then I've found that these doctors are very receptive. So after all of that, I will finally then read some of these viral media articles that many colleagues share. The problem is that by that point, after I've gone through all that stuff, by that point I have enough context to understand what those articles are leaving out. Because keep in mind, they're not fake. News articles aren't fake. They're not telling you, for the most part, they're not telling you that something that's just flat out false, but they're telling you such a small piece of the information that they have to leave something out. And so I'm trying to build my context so that when I see those articles, I know what they're leaving out. And I'll give you a hint, they're leaving out all of the non-sensational parts, the parts that aren't going to scare you, because that's how they make money. That is their business model. And I've seen so many examples of this in both right and left-leaning media coverage. So it is happening no matter where you get your news. You are going to misunderstand a lot of things. And so this brings me to the issue of the singer's masks. I see this happening a lot in Facebook groups where somebody, usually a white knight or a knight in shining armor, will come rushing into a chat feed to make sure everyone knows that actually the singer's masks did not perform very well in the Colorado study, and therefore you should just wear a surgical mask. Well, there's all kinds of problems with this. So here's how I'll dig in. So this is some information that I got from the folks over at MyMusicFolders who did work directly with the scientists in the Colorado study. So here's some information from them to pass along. So we were given the opportunity in July to send prototypes to Colorado State Aerosol Lab for testing, and those results were published along with several others as part of their interactive mask effectiveness charts, and people continue to reference those results. But again, those published results contain the tests of the prototype mask, of which I have one. I have a prototype mask. When we realized that their published comparison charts declared all singers' masks performed badly, we entered into several conversations with Dr. Jon Volckens and more often his assistant, who actually conducted the tests, Dr. Christian Lorange. We made changes or improvements in the resonance mask fabric choices and construction as a direct result of those tests. We continued to improve our mask by adding the sewn-in polypropylene filter layer, beginning with October production. Unfortunately, the prototype resonance masks the results were permanently published in their charts and embedded in all of those broadcasts, the music and performing arts videos that you saw. And you then saw the original information from that prototype mask, and you didn't see a test of how they did all of those improvements to the masks under the direction of the doctors. Okay, so when you share this information about how horrible these singers' masks are, you are sharing old information. Okay, so that's really important. So here's a couple other reminders, and these do come directly from that study. Filtration is important, but equally important is how the mask fits. Simply stated, the Colorado Aerosol Lab's test is for filtration only. There are two masks that specifically look great in their tests that do not function nearly as safely as one might assume, as the fit of the mask is loose and insecure on the face. So again, that's where you're going to think about that surgical mask versus a singer's mask from MyMusicFolders. If you're looking at just the filtration of the material itself, the surgical mask might work better. If you're looking at just how it filters. But then that's not taking into account that when you wear one of those surgical masks, next time, check this out. If you don't believe me, you are getting no seal on the side. You're getting no seal on the side at all. And that's one of the things that they really made some improvements on. And again, I've got one of those prototype masks, and I've compared it to one of the ones that they did come out with after October. And so the kinds that they are making now are dramatically better, again, under the advice of the doctors that are doing the study, that have been doing the study in Colorado. So some more important factors one needs to consider when choosing a mask for singing that differ from considerations for a daily use mask. The mask must fit closely to the face without moving and slipping. Surgical masks move and slip, you guys. The mask must provide breathability early on. The recommendations were to find tightly woven cotton, and very tightly woven or extruded fibers such as neoprene, in fact, do prevent aerosol transmission but can be extremely difficult to breathe in, especially when singing. We know that the several layers of more breathable fabrics can provide very good or better protection without impeding breathing. So these things, again, are things that you're going to consider with a singing mask, because the facial gymnastics, so to speak, that we are asking singers to do are not the same as regular everyday speaking. And that's something that the test didn't necessarily take all of that into consideration. And that's something, again, that MyMusicFolders, I'm very proud to affiliate with this company on these masks. Of course, into the future, hopefully we won't need the masks, and you'll be able to use your promo code to get your folders and get your choir robes and all the normal things that we would normally want to spend money on. But I'm really proud to affiliate with this company that has been making these masks, and yes, they are more expensive, but I can promise you that the other companies and the other places making these masks are not going through this level of scientific rigor to try to make sure their product is improving safety and is at the highest quality that it possibly can be. And so, again, stay tuned because they are still continuing to work with the scientists over there for that study and continuing to make improvements as needed. So everybody, I'm just going to encourage you to stand up a little bit when you see that kind of misinformation and dig to the next level, because this goes back to what I said at the very beginning. If you are taking what somebody says on Facebook as gospel, and even if you are looking at something in a study that was done over the summer and not being aware that there is up-to-date information on that, then that is a really it's not a super responsible way to communicate online. So just a couple of more things here on the way out, and then again, trying to keep this short. The mask should be able to accommodate double masking by either adding further filters or being able to fit securely over a second mask. Okay, and that's something that also the resonance mask can do. So it gives you tons of options in terms of how to protect your choir that normal masks just don't offer. So you can look at more of this information on their website as well, and you can, of course, enter Choirlosophy at checkout if you would like to try the masks if you have not yet. You can go to MyMusicFolders.com and look for the Resonance Mask. Choirlosophy at checkout will get you a 5% coupon, which amounts to free shipping, essentially, which is helpful, especially if you're ordering a whole bunch of them. Also, just a fun fact, the Colorado State University choirs, led by Greg Gentry, are using the Resonance Singer's Mask. If that tells you anything about how concerned the Colorado State scientists might be about the Resonance Singer's Mask, guys, it's a legit product. I wouldn't back it on this show if I didn't believe that. I'm going to, in the show notes, I'm going to attach some test reports as well so that you can read up on this and help me spread the word that there has been some misinformation going on around singers' masks and the Resonance Mask in particular.